This conversation actually ties in very nicely to the question that I have. And I know the answer for myself, but I really want to hear our master say it to us and our audience. What makes professional coaching so powerful as a modality, Peter?
The easy answer is, again, we bring people back to who they really are. As you know, you've heard this 1,000 times, the three of you, make the client do the work. Right. So and frankly, that has not been the case. We made them do the work by digging ditches. We made them do the work by you must learn mathematics, you must learn US history, you must learn, globalists, whatever. But in terms of self-development, I didn't have a single course all the time I went through postgraduate work at university that talked about self-development. I had philosophy courses. I had a great education, but none of it was, who are you, Peter, at your core? Not one. So what makes coaching so powerful is that the client starts taking responsibility and authority for their own life. Bottom line. They can make choices. Hopefully they're with a greater sense of awareness. Once awareness is raised by the questioning of a coach, it's customized to that one individual. Even in group coaching, it's the individual that's walking away with, okay, so what did you learn in this session? What are you going to do yourself? What are you taking a responsibility for? What are you committing to specifically? And it's an individual process that they get to see, they get to decide. So what am I willing to do? Or what am I willing not to do, as the case may be? But that's a conscious decision now. Whereas before it was, well, I think I'll just go with the flow, right? Everybody from my MBA class is doing this, so I guess I'll do it too. Everybody's driving this kind of car in my, my master's course, so I'm going to go get one too. So I look like, it looks like I'm successful, even though I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of wasted effort in life. Have you noticed? I mean, there was for me. So this coaching is a modality that says, this is all about the client. They're not getting advice from me, no matter how smart I am or think I am. They're not getting directed by me because I'm not their parent. I'm not their spouse. They're not getting, okay, so here's the 3 strategies that I know are most successful for the situation you're in. They're not getting that from me because that's more of as a trainer. Now I do that in other parts of my life, but not as a coach. And so they have to figure it out. They're forced to figure it out, and they're forced to take ownership of their choices and of their results, good, bad, or indifferent, without me there judging them. So I'm not there with a wooden ruler slapping their elbow or their knuckles like my nuns did in 3rd grade, or any other punitive action for that. I love them. I support them. I want them to have the best life that they can do and they can create for themselves. And like I said, part of that is unlearning, letting go of the comfy blanket, if you will, making some hard choices. I think I need to leave my job. That's a major one. And you don't have to leave your job to know yourself and to be fulfilled, by the way. So I want to, everybody that's going cyanotic blue on us right now, listening to this, going, I can't do that. So this is powerful work. And for those of you, and I know the 3 of you personally, because like you say, I was your trainer and mentor through coach training. I know the 3 of you take this seriously. This is not to be taken lightly. The significance of what that individual has to do for themselves. I know that you have been in the discomfort of, geez, I wish they would get through it quicker and easier so that they're not in as much pain as they are right now. But guess what? That too is part of the process. So Yeah, this, and like I say, we're the beginning of this profession. We are really understanding after 25 years why this is so powerful and what makes it powerful, and the kinds of questioning, the kind of safe space or sacred space we hold, the presence that we are as a human being, fellow human being on the other side of the relationship. That has a direct impact. If as a coach I still have major judgments about my inadequacies, me, Peter Redding, then that seeps into the coaching space. And I tend to then judge them, or I don't open up that safety net for them to explore as much as they need to explore in the time frame that works for them instead of me, because I want them to get it now, right? That doesn't help. So the more and more that we evolve as our own human being and our own congruency with our core self, the bigger space that I can hold for my client. And it's energetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can feel that. The analogy I use for that is that you can go into a different store or you can go into a different business, and you can feel the kind of energy that's there. Is it tension filled? Is it friendly? Is it people that love showing up that morning to do your dry cleaning or whatever that store might be? Versus another store that I can't get out of here fast enough.
Yeah.
And it's hard to describe that other than the culture or the atmosphere that organization portrays. The same thing with a coach. The more and more masterful I become and comfortable I am in my own skin, I can hold that space for my client and have compassion for when they're not that way. Because I think I probably was born as an evolved being, and then I forgot rapidly for the next 37 years until I started waking up again. Wait, this is not, I can be different.
Oh my gosh. I love everything that you're saying here, and coaching does have that special place of holding a space for an individual to really reflect and go deeper sometimes, when they haven't ever had that before, because most of the people we go to, whether it a friend or a family member, is typically their first response to any pain or issue that we're going through is telling us what they should do. Oh, you should do this. And as Jill from our training says, stop shooting on me. And it's so true. Like most people are trying to, they feel the pain. It's coming from a well-meaning place. They feel the pain someone's going through and they can relate with it, that they're trying to help them get away from it and buffer that pain as quick as they can, because it's so hurtful. And when another friend or someone brings you to that place, we too can feel uncomfortable. And so coaching has that space where we don't let that come on us. We have our own work that we do to be able to unattach from that, so that we open up a very clean, pure space for somebody to do that work for themselves without our own things coming in on it. And it's just such a treasure that coaching does that. So I'm wondering, what's your view of other supporting professionals that are out there, like the subject matter expert, the trainer, the psychologist, the mentor, the teacher, and how you see them coming together for the continuum of care that a person may need throughout all of the transitions and things that they experience in their lifetime, and how all of these different professions can support them on that journey.
Yeah, it's a great point. And my answer to that is, thank God there are therapists. Thank God there are experts. Thank God there are teachers. Thank God there are managers and leaders and parents and on and on and on. Because coaching does not replace any of those roles, frankly. There are a lot of those people that have come through my personal coach training over the last 25 years, and it has enhanced the work that they do as a therapist. It's enhanced their work as a parent. It's enhanced their work as an educator and so on. But it doesn't replace that. Mentoring is probably the closest cousin to coaching and sometimes gets confused. And I think the world of mentoring has changed over the last 40 years. So, and what I mean by that is that mentoring is typically thought of as an elder supporting someone that is younger. But there's also reverse mentoring now, so that doesn't even follow. It's the one that's more adept at that particular area of life.
Right.
So that, I mean, the first guy that taught me how to use an Excel spreadsheet was 14 years old. And I was, I think at the time, probably 32. Okay. So yeah, there was definitely reverse mentoring going on that, no, Peter, you can't do it that way. I wondered why all those columns disappeared. So,
I can relate.
So let me finish the mentoring coaching. 40 years ago, when I was a mentor and also a mentee at different times in my profession, 75% of that was mentoring, classic mentoring of Peter, make sure you pay attention to the family. Make sure you pay attention to this. These are the subject matter experts in our field that I want you to meet. Next time that we go to a convention, I want to introduce you to Dr. such and such, right? That's classic mentoring. The other part of mentoring that was happening 40 years ago, and then further back than that even, was in this organization, here's the progression of what you need to learn and what you need to know and who you need to know to get to the next level of supervisor, manager, junior vice president, CXO of this, that, and the other, and CEO, right? So there's a progression there. Today, who cares? You know, maybe they're here for the next 3 years. Maybe they're doing this as a gig, you know, the gig economy, right? We'll get somebody at Fiverr to do this for me. I don't need to learn all of that stuff. And I may start my own business in 6 years from now. So there's a lot more. That 75% of mentoring that was taking place 40 years ago, and maybe 25% of actual coaching as we would know it and define it today, of what are you passionate about? What do you want to learn more about? What do you want to develop? Can I support you to develop that? Send you off to a course or put you in a position or put you on a special projects or, that kind of thing was much more the coaching style. Now it's the opposite. 75% of mentoring should be this kind of coaching. Who are you? Where are you going? What's important to you? What's connected and what will support the soul of your being, right? 25% is still mentoring. The relationship between dad and family hasn't changed except for becoming more severe, that he's got more pressures on him now than he did 40 years ago. Now he's up at 2 o'clock in the morning talking to the other side of the world because a crisis has happened in their business or in a manufacturing plant that they have to take care of. But the fact of, when's the last time you took your daughter to the ballet class? That still exists. And it should still exist. And they need to be reminded of that at hard charging 27 years old, that he's going balls to the wall to get stuff done, right? Other professions like therapists, not everybody's ready for coaching. Like we've talked about and you've talked about so eloquently, this is hard business. This is courageous stuff. And if they're not ready to take on that personal responsibility, they need to have someone that is prepared academically and been licensed by their state or by their country to do that deeper work of how do you express that anger? How do you get that out of your body? How do you do that in a healthy manner that doesn't harm you or anybody around you? So, I mean, I have my tip my cap to all the therapists, psychoanalysts, psychotherapists, psychologists that are doing major work for people to bring them to a sense of, I'm going to call it personal wholeness and personal responsibility. Same thing with teachers, educators, consultants. if I'm building a home and I need to figure out, I have a room that's 18 feet wide. I'm not going to go to a coach and say, well, what do you think? Do I need a 2x4 up there, or maybe strap two of them together? And, oh,
Right.
you live in Wisconsin, so you have a snow load of, I don't know, probably it's heavy, huh? In the wintertime? Go to an engineer, go to a consultant who's
Yeah.
going to tell you exactly what you need to do so the roof doesn't come down.
Yeah.
So we coexist in a ecosystem of people that need the type of support that they need for that time of their life, or that project, or that phase or stage of life. We're not medical people. We're not psychologists or therapists.
Mhm.
And even those that have come through my training and several other coach training programs professionally, a lot of them have made a choice that I no longer want to do that work. It wears me out talking about the clinical nature of clients day in and day out. And it's within an ecosystem of reimbursement that has long been, should have been replaced.
Yeah.
So I have great admiration for my fellow supporting professionals, for human beings going through their path.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that explanation, especially for our audience, maybe where there's some misunderstanding on that. I know myself personally, I've run the gamut of all of those, and that it's not ever this person is geared just for coaching or just for therapy or just for mentoring or needs an expert, that it really just depends on where we're at. And while I may have a crisis one day and something that triggers something from a past I don't remember, and I need to go to some of that deeper work with a trained professional to do that, maybe in therapy, then there's other times when I'm back to a place of wanting to optimize my life and where I'm at from a place of responsibility to move forward and upward from where I'm at currently, as good or bad as it may be, but to move forward. And so I will probably for the rest of my life weave in and out of that depending upon what's going on. And I too am thankful for so many professionals out there who dedicate themselves to work to helping others. And I see that as everybody's purpose is to find who you are, find out that place that you have in the world, and then barter system it to death. We all are helping each other in where we have our gifts and our talents. And another thing that the CoreSELFie will help people to uncover about themselves. And so the more we can each honor in the other what the gifts that they brought to this world, we help each other out. It's that backwards mentoring, or however you call that. It's the same thing. There's no one person higher than the other. It's everybody just is there for whoever needs what they need at the time on their journey. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's not unusual where an individual has more than one helping professional in their life on an ongoing basis. I mean, I know clients in the past that have had a therapist, and they've worked on issues that they couldn't release or that they were a victim of, that I'm clearly not trained to support them in. As they work with me in areas that they've claimed self-responsibility in, and happy to work with me. So that's not an unusual thing. And they have a priest, and they have a therapist, and they have a consultant working on their, what they're building on their backyard, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I like you said the word coexist earlier, and I love that, coexist in the ecosystem, because it really is important to note that coaching hasn't come as a replacement to any of those other things. It's here too, like it's in addition to all the other supports. And I would say that's really important to moving forward for me anyway, to emphasize when I describe and explain or even just represent coaching, that it's an addition to that ecosystem, because it really, the continuum of care, it varies from person to person. And there'll be just certain times that I'm ready for something, and it may not be what's going to be necessary for me a year from now. So I'm glad that coaching has shown up to join the team.
Me too. Me too.
Yes. Oh, I'm so grateful I found it.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't until then that, like I said before, that I was able to really implement all of my learnings from books, mentors, teachers, and even psychologists, which I have seen several
Mhm.
throughout my life. But this modality it was almost like a key for me to feel, or for me to release the guilt of taking ownership, and responsibility too.
Yeah, thank you for that other piece. Yeah, it's taking the responsibility for my own life. I mean, again, can you imagine every person in the entire world taking responsibility for their own life and not blaming their parents?
Oh,
Right.
Which
like
I did, by the way. I mean, I went through that phase of, why did they do that to me? I didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
But if everybody took responsibility for themselves, then, the hate factor would go.
yes.
Mhm.
And ask a better question. Okay, so what am I going to do about it now?
Mm-hmm.
What's my role in this moving forward? Which again, that's the beauty of a coach that's going to ask those kinds of questions, because it's not about making the client comfortable. It's about supporting the client to have a greater sense of awareness of, what are you doing? I mean, are you your own worst enemy? I mean, that's not a very good coaching question because it's closed end, as you all know. I saw you smirk. I saw you smirking. And it's not very generative. But there's ways of asking those kinds of questions of an individual in terms of, okay, so I hear the pain that you've gone through, and I'm not talking clinical pain here now. So now what? What's best for you? What serves you? What's your way forward here? Are you ready to take that or not? And it's okay if you're not. I have just huge compassion for a sense of timing, that just because I want them to have it now to get through that angst, that pain, that regret, that whatever they're going through that is disturbing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also learned I don't want to go into that or direct them out of that sooner than they're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a recovering codependent, flaming codependent, this may be their life lesson that they're having to go through. And I do believe that people come back into this life or come through this life and have life lessons that they're here to learn.
Yeah.
And the ones that I've gone through are mostly painful. I don't know why. Okay, give me a life lesson that I like, have me eat so much chocolate cake that I just have to throw up. Give me that life lesson. But it doesn't seem to work out that way for me.
Not quite.
Wow. I have to say, Peter, during the training, one of my biggest awakenings in my life was during training, when I was struggling with something and full of tears, and the whole crew of us are there, and Marcia walked me through exactly what you're talking about, is really letting somebody just be with their pain without even trying to get yourself out of it. It's we have a million ways that we buffer from our pain in everyday life, whether it's alcohol, shopping, blaming, but we try to offload it very quickly. And that feeling, there's no way to describe that feeling for me of giving yourself permission, or someone giving it to you, or helping to show you that it's okay within yourself to just be where you're at. And really nothing happens, ironically, when you do that. There's some physical sensations that occur, but nothing, a lot of it's all made up in your head, and the stories that we tell ourselves, that's some future imagination of what's going to happen, or our old programmed patterns of the past and what's may have happened. And so sitting there and literally doing nothing, and not having anyone console me or give me tissues, but just loving me for exactly where I was, as if it was 100% perfect and whole right there. Was, I mean, I never in my life had that feeling, even from parents who I've had the best growing up in my whole life. I had such a perfect childhood in my mind. But there's just a quality about it that, like you said, I don't even know how to speak it. But when it's experienced, you know, somebody can tell us this just as we're saying it right here, and someone can be listening. But to sit in it and actually have it happen to you in real life, in a real moment where you're struggling, I mean, it's like you sit in a void of nirvana for a second and you don't even know you're in it. And it's until you get out of it, you'll be like, you feel so refreshed, like you've gotten this new lease on life, like a new power that's come into you. It's, like I said, it's crazy. I don't, it's such a golden key that unlocks things that we didn't even know needed unlocking.
Yeah, well, you speak to it so eloquently. I'm not going to add anything to that because it is precious. It's rare. It's cathartic. It's a journey of learning for yourself. And so thank you for sharing that experience and sharing it with the audience, because again, it kind of, for me, goes back to the question I think that Andres asked, is how is coaching so powerful? That's one example of it. And it's not therapy. What you just described is not therapy. It's just loving that person right now for exactly where they're at. Doesn't matter if they're crying, doesn't matter if they're tearing or sobbing or just need to be alone or go to the corner or go for a walk. It's just okay. It's just, you know, and so that is that greater sense of, I tend to want to arrest people from catharting if it's impacting me. I'm not comfortable with you being crying. You know, could you just, can you, it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, please stop crying because it's making me very uncomfortable. And I think that's part of the journey of the master coach. Am I comfortable with me crying? If I'm comfortable with being confused, am I comfortable with being upset? Am I comfortable with not knowing? Am I comfortable with people around me that don't see my magnificence and are judging me for this, that, or the other, and on and on and on. That's, again, I think it's part of the human condition, human experience. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how rich you are, doesn't matter what education you have. We all have emotions. We all get hurt. And can I hold that safe space, sacred space that you just described for a client when they go through that without any pressure? It's just
comfort with discomfort.
Comfort with discomfort. Great way to say it. Yep. Yeah, well
Or
said.
without my own personal agenda behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is more about me than you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Wow. Deep, deep, deep. This is great.
Love it.
Thank you for that. And so you, Peter, earlier you were talking about how coaching is just getting started. So where do you see coaching going from 2021 and beyond?
The ICF has just shared something that we want coaching to be a part of every single thriving society in the world. And I love the way they said that. So how can we, coaching for the most part for the last 25 years has been for the top, I'm going to say 2% of people worldwide. People that are A, educated, B, aware of what's happening in the world, C, that are rich enough to A, go through training and or get coaching. Mostly in organizations worldwide, the top executives have experienced coaching now. My question is, what are we doing about the other 98% of the population of the world? So, and that's what, that going back to the first billion people. I'm gifted with 2 languages, English and compassion. But I don't speak German. I don't speak Swahili. I don't speak any other language. So I put things out on a weekly basis. I have a weekly live video broadcasting that I do around coaching. The next series will be around self-mastery, and then the third one will be around learning mastery. And I'm hoping that people will pick that up, that can bring it to people that would never come to me because I'm male, because I'm older, because I'm American, because I speak English. And so I believe that if I can put out the essence of coaching, the brilliance of coaching, the bedrock of coaching, then that will start getting picked up by other nationalities that are bilingual or trilingual. They'll start using it in their own training in their organizations worldwide. People that want to understand coaching better, that don't even want to become a coach, can listen to it. So that's my way. But I think every professional coach has a responsibility, frankly, of how do I get this into populations that are underserved?
Mm.
How do I get this into populations that have been ignored or have been judged as it's not okay to be blank? And so I take that very seriously. I know that I'm a little cog in the wheel in terms of supporting that, but I will continue to advocate for all coaches to make it your own personal mission. It starts with, take on a pro bono client from your favorite charity, your favorite nonprofit, from a country that's far away from you, and you have no concept of what they're doing, but put out a social media post and said, I'm looking for somebody that's a woman, that's mid-career. That's the kind of people that I work with. And if you're from Africa or from Asia or from Latin America or South America or someplace in the US that is underserved and don't have access to a coach because of economics, language, or some other purpose or some other reason, let's see if we can't work together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of in talking about underserved, not only from some of the nationalities or, whatever, they don't resonate with a man versus a woman, but also, I think there's a lot of people out there who they have this idea of the type of person that needs help and who you go to get help from. And so if they don't feel like they resonate with some of the other helping professionals out there, they're almost stuck with like, well, then what do? I just have to go to my friend or family member who may not be the best support in serving what their agenda is. And so I like that this goes as far reaching to the underserved as far as how they see themselves and identify themselves with what they need, because, at some point, way back now, I think even psychology has brought in a lot of this. There's overlap in a lot of this language in psychology now, but some people have their minds to what it is. They may think if I don't have a diagnosis of a specific mental illness, or there's something, they may think if there's something wrong with me, in quotes, that there's nowhere for them to go. And so this is reaching, and I love your goal out there of just putting it out there to someone you wouldn't ordinarily think, or making sure your label of who we're trying to coach is very specific, because there's someone out there that needs to hear it, that is not getting the help that they need, and they're suffering and they're in pain, and their lives could go in a different trajectory without hearing the messages that I heard that have saved my life in ways that I can't even say on here. So they need to hear this, and I don't think there's as much out there on coaching as you can find, just because of the way that we're progressing. And I think Ilana had mentioned this earlier. It's just, it's evolving, and we're certainly not at that destination of where we're at in any of the helping professionals. And so the more we can bring in some of these ideas that may be uncomfortable to some, there are others who it will save their lives and change everything. So yeah, I'm going to this week, because of what you said, reach out to somebody that ordinarily wouldn't be in my line of sight, and see how I can touch them. Super.
Yeah, I did a little calculation back about a month or so, maybe 2 months ago, and I said, okay, so I did a little research. There's about 800,000 therapists, psychotherapists, wellness professionals in the United States. The articles that I read said that that's probably about 75% of what we really need in this country. And this is just the US that I'm talking about, US population of 315 million people. And I said, okay, so if that category of helping professional is working with people that need that level of support, and my guess, and I'm just taking, it's a wild guess, and I may be blowing it out of proportion, but let's say that 20% of the population needs that level of support sometime during their life. What are the other 80% doing? To your point, Tanya. And before coaching came about, the closest that came to what I do as a professional coach that I heard from anybody was a grandma that didn't care if I came home with purple hair and a toe ring.
Yeah.
She just loved me, and I could tell her and talk to her about anything. My two grandmas were not that, by the way, so I didn't even have that option. So, all right, so continue with the numbers. All right, so 900,000, let's say 1 million, just round figures, people that can support individuals that are going through legitimate trauma, been traumatized, victimized. They need support from a trained professional. The other 80%, if that's the case, just in the United States, then we would need 4 million coaches. And I think that coaching is more of a longitudinal activity, that the client's going to come back and, you know, they want to do coaching this year and they take a hiatus or time off for a year, and then they come back at the next level or stage of life. So let's multiply that times 4. They use it 4 times more often during a lifetime than a therapist might be utilized. So now we're up to 4 times 4 is 16 million coaches in the United States to take care of the US population.
Wow.
Now divide that into 7.5 billion. We need millions and millions of professional coaches that can hold a space for another human being's evolution, development, well-being. Just someone to be compassionate with them. So we have a long road to go, and like I say, that we're just scratching the surface right now. We really are.
Yeah, and for people who don't want to become coaches, as you said, the things that you're putting out there, you don't have to want to become a coach for it. It's really just increasing that awareness and bringing the language and learning to hold that space for a friend, for a family member. All of that will up-level the world without you having to become a professionally trained coach. Any way that you can contribute to this movement is incredible, I think.
Totally agree with that.
Wow.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And thank you for those numbers. That just caught my attention in a way that I had never thought about it before. That's powerful, and gives me more inspiration to continue this. That was already my plan, of course, but it just reinvigorates that even stronger to stay with this and continue to advocate for more coaches to come through this profession, to support and empower the rest of the population. So this has been an incredible conversation. And Peter, for those watching, what opportunities do you have to connect with you or Coach for Life available right now? And where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn, Peter J. Redding, Reding, Coach for Life, and you can see the domain name there, the URL, coachforlife.com. And I invite you to go to Facebook on Tuesday mornings, 10 o'clock USA Eastern time, to come to one of the live sessions that I've been doing. I plan on doing it weekly for at least I have enough episodes in mind for the next 2 years. So I'll be busy doing that. If you want to just hear my melodious voice and pontificating whatever it is that I'm talking about that particular day. And so those would be ways to connect with me, or just reach out on LinkedIn and, want to be connected that way so that you can kind of stay in a loop. So yeah, that'd be great. Or CoreSELFie. And I encourage everybody to go to CoreSELFie, download the things for yourself, and then use them with everybody you know. I need help. I can't do 1 billion people by myself.
Yes, yes. We are certainly here to help you. I feel so honored to be one of the ones that found you and to be bringing this forth in the world. I see it as like we're kind of sprinkled around the world, and I'm so glad that I'm one of those that found you. Like I said, that's sprinkled in the Coach for Life environment. So
I like that, Alana. You're one of my sprinkles, Alana.
That just came just now. Thank you.
And you really are. All three of you are really sprinkles. It's just like you're bringing a light to a part of the world that you live in that I would never, people would never come to me, frankly. Mm-hmm. Like, what does he know about my life? So yeah, we need you. We need you desperately.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I too am so glad. I did a lot of deliberating on which program I would go through for training. And I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, but I do feel like, wow, it was so incredible to have the training through you, being trained by you and mentored by you and coached by you, and really getting to experience something like never before. So I appreciate all that you're doing and your dedication to this very, very important field.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I received that. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Peter. My heart is so full after the session. I feel so invigorated after this. And I'm sure our audience will too once they watch it. I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This was a beautiful episode. I'm so excited to share it, and for those that will continue to find it throughout the time. And so it's been an honor and a perfect way to close out the series 1. So thank you so much for joining us, Peter.